a lot of questions that we are asked by our student athletes when they are done with school, or they're about to get done with school, so they're about to graduate, is everything that comes after. So everything that stands between being a student and be a worker in the US. And a lot of questions are about the OPT. So how, when is the best time to be on OPT? How does the extension work if you're a STEM major? And if once you're on OPT, then you can stay on OPT at the same company, or maybe you can change during the OPT. So to have all the information related to this, you know, so that they can do everything correctly.
Yeah, I'll take that one as well. With so yes, when you finish your program, one of the options that you can explore, and which will allow you to further stay in the United States, is optional practical training, or OPT. And best piece of advice for gaining that is to apply for it as early as possible. And what I mean by that is you can apply for OPT 90 days before the end date of your program, which should be listed on your I-20. And you can apply for it 60 days after that end date. But as soon as that application timeline hits, you definitely want to apply for it as early as possible. And so that's essentially what you're getting when you're trying to apply for OPT. Apply for it as early as possible, 90 days before your end date and 60 days after your end date. Also, if you let that 60 days lapse, your OPT, you cannot apply for it anymore. Additionally, if you leave the country after your program end date without filing for OPT, your eligibility for OPT is gone. So if you're seriously considering applying for OPT, you want to make sure you get that done while you're still on F1 status and while you're still in the United States.
Okay, perfect. So
I think it's important for students to also recognize that the timings really are critical. With when you're applying for an employment authorization document through the OPT, there's no surefire way of expediting that request. You can ask for a discretionary expedite from USCIS, but in my years practicing, I've never seen one approved, and typically they're for humanitarian grounds, or if there's substantial risk to the company, financial risk or otherwise. But just saying to somebody, look, I need to start working by the start date isn't going to be enough to get that expedite request approved. So monitoring when you can file and filing early, like Jackie said, is really crucial.
Okay, perfect.
And also in regards to STEM, so STEM, those are the degrees regarding sciences, technology, electronics, and mathematics. Just like everyone who is on an F1 visa, you're allowed to have 12 months of OPT. If you have a STEM degree, and you can see what kind of, students can see if their degree qualifies as a STEM degree by going to the DHS's website. All the degrees are there. But once again, if you have a degree in the sciences, technology, electronics, and mathematics, you can get an additional 24 months, which you alluded to. And essentially after the 12 months of your initial OPT, there's a 60-day grace period, and you can't apply for that extension within that grace period. So you want to wait.
Okay. And Corrado, you'd also asked the question about, once you get the optional practical training, whether you can, change employers or how, what fields that you can work in. So generally speaking, you do need to be getting a job in a field that's really, related to your degree. There's some leeway as far as how directly closely related it has to be to the degree, but that's something that your DSO will help the student navigate. But generally, the idea for the OPT is the practical training element is to have a year's worth of employment authorization to apply what you've learned in your F1 period of study. So it should be closely related to your field of study. But you are allowed to move to another employer. Again, as long as it continues to be directly related to your degree, but you would have to notify your DSO about that change. They would have to update an endorsement on your I-20 form, but that is possible. The other thing to keep in mind that when changing jobs and when working on OPT is there is a limit on during that year how long you can be unemployed, and the rules say that you can't be unemployed any more than 90 days and still maintain your OPT status. So it is important that once you start using that OPT status that you do stay employed during that period.
Okay, perfect.